the date that sign says, saying, you can't fuck off past here. Climb over the date, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.
On that note, welcome to another edition of Shoot the Shit Saturday, the segment here on Odds and Ends Gaming where we get together and talk about nothing, talk about everything, and basically just shoot the shit. The person that you heard rambling and ranting was Ringleader.
Hey.
I, of course, am Espionage DB7, the one, the only. And I'm also joined by my cohort, Obsolete 2003.
Yo.
And he acknowledges he is my cohort with that greeting. At any rate,
yes, and I'm not.
Wait, would you want to be a cohort?
Why not?
Okay, fine. Cohorts and minions, subservient peons, unite and do my bidding.
I say we wage a civil war just to take them out and then overthrow the government and establish a new world order. Just saying.
I don't know. At any rate, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? Sorry for our absence last week and our inability to shoot the shit, but here we are yet again. And
we're busy. That's
yes,
all there is to it.
Indeed.
To put it simply.
Now,
not to like overblow it by this dude here, just to say we were busy.
That's all I was gonna say.
No, you made it to something much more.
I wasn't going anywhere. I was just saying that I'm sorry that we weren't here. I wasn't overblowing anything.
You kind of were.
No, was I? Ops? It's about time you start taking a side around here.
You do have a way with words.
I think you're muted.
It was me for a change. How about that? You do have a way with words.
Well, that doesn't mean that I, overstate myself.
Do you really?
Moving on. We weren't available last Friday, but here we are now.
Yes.
Or Saturday, I should say. But
and it seems like with ample timing, because I have a topic that I want to bring up first and foremost.
Okay.
Bethesda, in all their wisdom and glory and amalgamation of stupidity, has released an announcement. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but they released a premium service, or membership, I should say, called Fallout First, which for a low price of $99 per year will get you a bunch of dumb, stupid, pretty much useless perks that you can get as part of your membership into this crap game. So, one thing to keep in mind, guys, this membership, this stupid thing, is coming out before that major NPC update. You remember how Todd Howard announced that NPCs were coming to Fallout, and it was anticipated fall of this year at some point?
yeah.
Well, guess what? That update's been pushed back to next year.
Conveniently, now we're having to do the season pass now.
You broke up there for a moment. I didn't quite hear it.
So is the update with the NPCs and stories and all that, is that actually going to play out with the base game, or is that now going to fall into the subscription service?
Unless they change it, from what I understand, the subscription Fallout First only includes some basic little perks and stuff that you can get. It should not impact the NPC. It should not impact the NPC patch that is set to come out. But my point is that they did not wait to release the patch first and then this subscription service to even see if the game is gonna work out, right? Because supposedly this patch is gonna completely fix Fallout 76. It's going to include NPCs. It's gonna include a whole bunch of new shit that's coming out, and they didn't wait to see if that was gonna fix the game before they started offering this stupid subscription-based membership deal. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But
so the stuff that you get is you get access to private worlds. What this essentially is the ability to create your own, almost like lobbies or servers, so you can kind of create a world and invite your friends and keep from other people joining. From which I remember, the times that we played that, it was a pretty empty world. We barely ran across other people.
Yeah, the online thing was literally a wasteland because there's no one playing.
Exactly, it was pretty much dead. You get unlimited storage for crafting components in a new scrap box container. You get a thing called a survival tent, which is a placeable fast travel point with a stash. So basically, you can now fast travel anywhere you want because you'll have the ability to create a fast travel spot. You get a total of 1,650 atoms per month. You get a set of icons and emojis that you can use in chat that are only available to members. And I think the only one that I might even consider, like if I had stupid spending money to the point that I didn't even care about money, the only reason I would even consider this would be because you actually do get a set of Ranger armor, the NCR iconic Ranger armor, which is actually pretty badass from Fallout New Vegas. And that's the one thing in that whole package that I would even consider as far as a reason of getting that update. But $100 a year for a game that is pretty much on life support, it's ridiculous. Todd Howard, you've done it again.
Yeah, it's absolute trash. And that was already after their stupid Battle Royale thing to jump on that cash cow. I haven't kept up with it to see how that's going, but yeah, I'm not gonna give Fallout, or at least 76 any more of my money. Probably get Doom and whatnot, but in regards to 76, I'm not giving any more of my money, barely any of my time. I might pop in real quick just to see what it's all about, but
you get a scrap box.
Oh, fuck that. But so what happens if you are a paid subscriber, you have your stuff, but then you miss a payment for whatever reason? Like, do you just lose everything?
I don't think that's a good point, but I don't know. That is a good question.
Either way, that's not going to be our problem, but that'll be the people who pay for this. And
exactly. You fucking let's say that's the only set of armor you have, right? You're using that in your wasteland. You're using your NCR armor, and you're out there, and then the fucking subscription expires. Because apparently you can get it at $12.99 per month or $99.99 per year. So if you get it and you no longer pay for it, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Are you gonna just end up naked? You're gonna lose your save spot, or not the save spot, but the fast travel spot and all that.
You never know.
That is a good point. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, there's other online services that if you miss a payment and then you lose whatever you had saved, and so.
Well, like World of Warcraft was a subscription-based game. It's the only other subscription-based game that I played. What they would do is, if you couldn't pay, they would not let you log into your account. Like, basically, your character was there. You wouldn't lose anything. You just couldn't log in to play. I don't know how it's going to work with that because, yeah, supposedly it's not a service that will make you that'll make you eligible to play. You'll still be able to play as long as you bought the game, but you get all these additional perks. Do you suddenly lose those perks? That's a good question. I wouldn't know how to answer that.
Oh, well, we'll see. It's gonna be another debacle like this whole train wreck of 76. And
has the battle royal fucking shit was coming out along with the NPC update, right? I believe, or did they release that already?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they released it sooner, just because again, that's the hot thing right now. They want to try and mooch off of that cash cow before it gets dead.
Oh, that cow's already dying. At this point, they're just beating a dead horse. But Bethesda, just, my God, how did the company that developed Fallout 3 and Elder Scrolls Oblivion, how have you fallen so far from grace, Bethesda? You make me sad.
It was always like that.
It all boils down to greed.
I mean, Fallout 3 and Elder Scrolls Oblivion are great games. They're fantastic. Even Fallout 4, for all its faults, which it had many a fault, I did enjoy it thoroughly. Skyrim as well. I feel like Skyrim and Fallout 4 were the dumbed down versions of Elder Scrolls Oblivion and Fallout 3. But they were still good games. So I had high expectations going into Fallout 76. And I remember before it released, I had told you I think I know what they're doing. I gave them way too much credit. I told myself, I know what they're doing. They're going to basically make it to where it's 100%, real environment with no NPCs. So it's like you're the first people out of the vault, so it makes sense. There's no towns established, there's no settlements yet, so it makes sense that there wouldn't be any NPCs. I really tried to give them a lot of credit. I really tried to give them a high, expectations, to set my expectations high, and the higher I set them, the further they fell.
Yeah, so we'll wait and see, but I'm not gonna touch it. I own 76, but I'm not gonna put any more money into it. Like I said, I might
hell
pop
no.
in and see what it's like, but I kind of enjoyed it playing it. I mean, it's just whatever it is, what it is, but like I said, at the time I bought that, and there was that Walking Dead Overkill game. That game was just absolute shit. And I think that game is dead now, but that game
Pretty
was
much.
worse than 76. So, but anyways,
Such a shame.
yes. But
Well, pretty much that's what I wanted to bring up first, because that was the news at the forefront of my personal news cycle that I'm aware of. So,
yes.
how about you, Ring? You've been rather quiet over there. Any thoughts? Any additional topics?
Well, I'm enjoying the sales that are going on in War Thunder right now. I mean, 50% off for a year, so I'm spending like $40 instead of like the 80 or 90 is a nice deal.
You said that's because of the anniversary, right?
Correct. This year, or on November 1st, will be the 7th year anniversary of War Thunder being released.
Nice.
Yeah. Which also they have all the store packs and various models of various countries on sale on specific days. So, like, I'm going to pick up the Leopard A1 and one or two other vehicles as they go on sale as the week progresses. So, I know not everybody cares for War Thunder, but I'm enjoying that the sale.
No, I mean, it's a game you like. Yeah, I tried to get into it. The few videos where I played it, I was terrible at it, and I personally could not find interest in it. But if you like it, you like it. I mean, there's games that I like that I'm sure you guys hate, so there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I also recently bought Secret of Mana, which
yeah.
was a pricey investment. It's like $40, but it the game was originally released on the Super NES. So, but the game comes with both classic mode, which will have the music and the graphics displayed in the
From
classic.
the original.
Right. Or you can use the updated high definition graphics and sound, which I use because it does sound beautiful having the music being fully realized. I'm only like a fourth of the way through the game, but I'm kind of like, yeah, this takes me back to the ROMs, which is the only way I played it. And I'm like, okay, so I have a game I can have on Steam. I don't have to go trouble trying to find the ROM and the working emulator to work it now. So, woo,
Hey, you said it was co-op, right?
yeah.
At some point, how did you buy it, on Steam or what?
Steam. I will wait for the Steam sale for y'all because reasons.
Yeah.
But my understanding it has local and online co-op.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask. Was it local co-op or online? But so it is both.
Yes.
Cool.
I just generally enjoy the game. Like how it works is roughly you have to use the sword to resync with what's called mana seeds, and every time you sync with a new mana seed, you can advance your magic skills of your partners another level, which is used by experience grinding. It's squaring. But on top of that, there are orbs that you can gain from beating bosses or checking certain locations, which will then enable your weapon to level up which then you would use the weapon to actually level it up, right? And you can use a more devastating attack, right, which is like a charge attack, and the charge goes higher and higher based on your orb level. So say you have sword level 6, right? And you have reached level 6 with the character's own experience. You can charge the attack and do a massive attack. It just takes time to charge those levels. The plot's not overly complex, but that's okay. You're there for the ride.
It's one of those classic top-down RPGs, right?
Yeah. But I thought it was unique because it was one of the few first games that supported 3 players instead of 2.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying it. I also I'm getting ready to record Grim Fandango.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was getting a chance to stream it this past Saturday, but things happened, and this Saturday I'm going out of town, so I think if I don't record it, I'll do a streaming of it on Sunday.
Nice. Yeah, it's been a busy week, which is, again, one of the reasons that you guys didn't see a fallback or shoot the shit this past week.
Right.
But I will say that I believe this is going to be the last shoot the shit of October, right? No. Yeah, because next Thursday will be October 31st. Yeah, so this is officially the last shoot the shit of October. We hope that you guys have been enjoying our month-long oddities and entrails where I know Ops has been doing Amnesia, I've been trying to do Outlast, and mainly I've been focusing on Outlast and Corpse Party. I did do a little bit of Cry of Fear. I have several games that I wanted to do, but those are the main 2 that I'm focusing on.
I haven't really been doing a whole lot this month, to be honest. Like Halloween for games is just not my genre.
7 days is the thing we've been doing.
Yeah, but I don't play a lot of horror games at all. I usually play shooters or tank games or something like that. I just don't dive into it.
That's not your forte.
Yeah.
As much as I like horror games and Halloween games, Halloween is nowhere near as much my holiday as it is Ob's holiday. My holiday's Christmas. I love Christmas. I get happy and just carefree and just...
You wait your turn. Halloween hasn't came yet.
I'm just saying that I like Christmas.
I know.
I'm not allowed to say that?
No.
Also,
you bring it up after Halloween.
Also, Thanksgiving is my holiday because my birthday lands on Thanksgiving this year.
You can have like a turkey cake or something.
Why not? That sounds good. Turkey stuffed with cake. Instead of stuffing, we'll have cake and chop it all up and stuff it in the turkey's cavity.
Okay then.
That's a thing. I'm sure it exists somewhere. If not, it will.
Okay then.
Right?
You do that.
Maybe I will.
Okay then.
Well, okay.
Well, fine.
Well, yes. I mean, it's my birthday, and I'll stuff turkey with cake if I want to.
You cry if you want to.
I'll stuff the thing.
Oh, you'll stuff it, all right.
Every 6 years it happens, and this is one of the years. And
it sounds like a prelude to a horror story. Every 6 years, when the things align.
Well, wouldn't you know? Speaking of which, Ring, you missed it. I was actually talking about the proclivities and what it takes to push a person into the mind of a serial killer. I mean, that was a discussion, and I was just kind of wondering.
It was more of a soliloquy because no one took part in your discussion. It was just you rambling, and everyone else was saying, "You seem a little bit unhinged." But
it wasn't rambling. I was simply trying to dive deep into the psyche to grasp a better understanding of what it takes, what happens in a person's id, and psychology in order to become that. What is that breaking point? What is it inside a person's mind? If you think about it, a brain is almost like those lights.
You're just really rambling.
No, listen, hear me out. The person's brain is almost like those little lights, the ones that you have to break, that have the little glass canister inside, and when they break, they start glowing. If you think about it, that's what a person's mind is. At some point, there is enough force, enough pressure put on that it breaks, and the fluid that is inside that deep, dark recess pours out, creating a chemical reaction that causes the brain to ignite, possibly into a hellish glow. Now that was poetic, right? That was awesome. Come on, that was poetic. Put that in a fucking movie. That fucking got freaking Dr. Loomis himself couldn't have said that better, right?
Dr. Kane.
Dr. Kane. There. No, seriously, this is a cool analogy, right? Like, you can see that as a. I'm gonna have to save that. I'm gonna remember that.
Yes, just not now.
But no, seriously,
I get what you're saying. When I saw Three from Hell, I won't get too into specifics of the movie, but there's one scene where it was like Sid Haig. The bad guys had this 4 people kind of tied up, and they were kind of making threats to him. And the one woman was saying, like, well, you can't threaten me. It's like, do what you want. It's like, you won't phase me. It's like, oh, okay. And then in the corner, there was like apparently it was the woman's mother's ashes. So he grabs for the urn, and that's where she broke. She was like, whatever you do, don't touch that, don't do that. So of course he went to town with the ashes, and that just broke her basically. But then making whatever threats to her didn't phase her. But the moment
everyone has a breaking point.
So, you just reminded me of something.
Okay.
So did a little serious discussion for a while, but it tackles on that line of thinking a bit.
Fits in the purview.
Ever heard of the Milgram experiment?
The Milgram experiment?
Milgram.
No.
Okay, so we're diving into a little bit of history here. Now, World War II.
Interesting. I want to hear this.
World War II. After the war, they were having the Nuremberg trials and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. And they thought to themselves, how can these people commit these acts, throughout the war? The Polish, the Jews, Gypsies,
massive extermination and all that.
Right, and can just go along with it. Well, there was a Yale research that was done to conduct a form of shock therapy. See, there would be one person who would control the shock, the electrical flow that would just shock somebody else. But the thing is they would, if they didn't shock the subject, that there would be possibly a negative connotation with it, right? And they learned through a series of experiments that almost universally that the people knew. Now, mind you, these shocks weren't real. It was just a shock, right? And the guy on the other side would scream in pain, even just to fake it out.
It was fake. Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. It was like fake out.
But the guy did not know who actually pushed the button. They had priests, authority figures, people who you would think you wouldn't do it, school teachers and stuff like that. And they found that despite knowing that the shock was causing pain to someone, that they found that universally they convinced every single participant to voluntarily hit the button.
Did they know how big of a shock supposedly this was going to be administering?
Near fatal or fatal.
Near fatal. And
right.
They still, and everybody, how did they do that?
Okay, so what it was is, now, I don't remember correctly, they measured the willingness of the participants, right, men from a very diverse race of occupations. And mind you, I'm just reading this here, so
Right.
Various levels of agitation to obey an authority figure who instructed them to perform acts that conflicted with their personal conscience. Okay. Participants were led to believe that they were assisting in an unrelated experiment in which they administered the electric shocks to a learner. These facial electric shocks would gradually increase the levels that would have been fatal if they were real. The experiment apparently unexpectedly found that a very high proportion of subjects would fully obey the instructions, albeit reluctantly. And Milgram described a search for speed, which was in the article back in 1963. But it was a psychological study to answer the popular contemporary question: could it be that Eichmann and the million accomplices in the Holocaust were just following orders?
But there was still coercion involved.
Could you call them accomplices? The experiment was repeated many times around the globe with fairly consistent results. If there's a certain authority figure is in place and the person who could object to what is happening, a vast majority of the time they still did it.
Despite knowing that it was going to cause physical, near fatal, or potentially fatal harm to somebody else.
Right.
But a person of authority was basically ordering them to do this.
Yes.
See, that's interesting. I feel, again, there's questions that are asked sometimes where people say, man, fuck that, I wouldn't have done this, or hell yeah, I would have. I feel like there's questions that cannot be answered because we don't know the answer until we're thrust in those situations. I feel like no matter what, I would refuse. I'd like to think that, but I don't know.
You would have to subject yourself to the Milgram experiment to verify that, because they found, again, a vast majority
people with generally good moral compass and ethics that still subjected to this, and they knew the end result, and they still did it because the authority was imposed on them.
Yes, and that would also reach into the question, which was, were those people who performed it, were they just simply following orders, or they did it of their own free will? Because the experiment proved, and not just here, but like I said, across the globe, that a vast majority of people would still do it because of being instilled
under the duress of authority.
Yes.
That raises another question though. Despite the findings, does that absolve you from responsibility? I mean, you still made the choice to do it. A person could make the choice to we were having these discussions or similar to them on our 7 Days to Die playthrough. Does the fact that you were following orders and the fact that a vast majority of people would fall into line on this, does that absolve you from responsibility of doing this? I mean, you still are given the choice. You can still choose at your own peril to disobey. It's the matter of would you? And I guess most people, by default, going back to our inherent self-preservation, we try to avoid getting into trouble or having physical harm come our way, even if it means perpetuating it onto others.
So, in 1974, there was an answer or a conclusion of sorts, and this would answer that. And then reading here, but this is a good one, okay? And here we go.
This is definitely interesting. I did not know about this experiment.
The legal and philosophical aspects of obedience are of enormous importance, but they say very little about how people would behave in concrete situations. I had set up a simple experiment at the Yale University to tell how much of the pain an ordinary innocent would inflict on another person simply because he was ordered by an experimental scientist. Stark authority was pitted against the subjects, or quote-unquote, participants. Strongest moral imperatives against hurting others. And the subject's ears ringing with the victims' screams of victims. Authority won more than often than not. The extreme willingness of adults to go into any lengths on command of authority constitutes the chief finding of the study and the fact that the most urgently demanding explanation. Ordinary people simply doing their jobs without any particular hostility on their part can become agents in a terrible destructive processes. Moreover, even when the destructive effects of their work are patently clear, they are asked to carry out actions incompatible with their fundamental standards of morality. Relatively people have the resources needed to resist authority. So we're ingrained to follow some form of authority, our boss, a supervisor, whatever, right? Police officer, military, ambulance, EMS, to extent, to follow the instructions of what they're doing. On the vice versa, the same can be said to do harm, because we're so trained under the authority, right, that we feel compelled, based on a human condition, well, majority, that we have to follow that authority figure, because we've been ingrained since birth to follow that. Yeah, we're ingrained to follow that authority since birth. Father, mother, principal, teacher, so on and so forth. And it can be easily construed, and happened with the Nazis, where because of that authority, you're more likely to fall in line because simply the authority is there. Now, as I said, most did do it, some did not, right? It wasn't always someone who was willing to obey. But the ratio was staggering, which is in favor of those who follow authority, because, quote unquote, I was just following orders. Which then, begs those questions in a sense. You are listening to the same, but as it's stated, if you had concrete parameters and things set in place where you cannot second guess, then the authority, works its way in there in one form or another.
In a way, I still think that goes back. I do think that people still need to be held accountable for their actions, regardless how strong the pressure is from authority, because of the fact that it's still a matter of like peer pressure. You can't use peer pressure in an excuse in a criminal case of some kind. If your friends told you to do something and you did it, you can't use that.
But this case specifically here is on a larger scale, by done via an actual authority, not
governmental authority,
governmental or otherwise.
Yeah, but it's still again, it still comes back to a point of self-sacrifice, to the point where you could put yourself in peril for refusing to follow orders. And I know that most people cannot be expected to fall into that category, which makes sense what you're saying. And the fact of the matter is, this is a different kind of scary. To me, I find that scary. That was a little bit of a troubling fact from that experiment, but it is. I think it fits. I know it's October, and that's actually disturbing to me. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Obs, a little bit because you've been kind of quiet. But I'll give a personal example. And I've told Obs this story. There was a job that I used to work at a few years back, and it's going to remain nameless. I don't want to get sued. But I was an insurance agent there, and I ended up leaving because I found that they were doing less than legal practices. I stumbled upon things, and not only that, but I basically was told to keep my mouth shut and just do my job. Basically, when I stumbled onto, I'm not going to go into details again on what they were doing, but when I came across what was being done, and I brought it to my boss's attention, thinking that maybe it was a mistake, maybe it was just something that was overlooked and not actually, done on purpose. I was basically told to not say anything, ignore it, keep my mouth shut, and just do my job. And on that day, I put in my 2 weeks notice to quit, because I was not going to be party to something that is immoral, let alone illegal. and I was making pretty decent money there, more money than I'm making now. So at the peril, at the loss of financial stability, I opted to leave. The likelihood of me or us getting caught or anything was rather slim. It was a fairly small, thing that was being done. It was not ubiquitous. It was not a very profound thing, but it was still. The fact is that morally, I could not stand for it, and my own moral compass would not allow me to do so. So I actually ended up leaving, despite having a comfortable job, knowing the job very well. It was a nice place to work. I chose to leave. And I've told Obs this story, so I think he can vouch for me.
Yes, you are correct. And yeah, you don't have to get into specifics, but I'm aware of what you're talking about.
So, but you have any thoughts on that? On the conversation? You've been quiet? I actually like that experiment. I want to read more on that.
I want to talk about games.
Okay.
We can benchmark this for another in-depth conversation for later, as we've been talking about this about the last 15 minutes. So
hey, we get philosophical here. Join us next week when our guest will be Dr. Fletcher Geiger, PhD, and the author of the new book.
Moving on. Anywho's, on other news, game related.
No thoughts?
No, I'm gonna move on.
Right. For those listening, you can always leave feedback on the YouTube comments. I want to see what y'all think about the experiments and what effect they have. And also, espionage is, should I say, decision making.
Well, and for more information, visit your local library.
Yes. In other news, game related, PS5 has been news. You can bring that up, but I'm talking about the PS5 right now. PS5 is set to premiere or to release holiday season 2020. So
just over a year.
Yes, so I'm looking forward to that. The design so far that they have looks pretty weird, but I'm pretty sure it's still very early into development right now. So,
GameSphere.
No, but
Where was the GameSphere from?
You don't know what the GameSphere is from?
I may have heard it, but I just forgot.
South Park.
Oh, okay.
GameSphere.
But then they finally stopped with the knockoff consoles and started with the Xbox and three Xbox and PS4 and stuff like that.
But,
do you ever watch South Park, Obs?
I've watched it on and off. I really fell out of touch with it. But
they did a whole season with a PlayStation versus Xbox war, and they did it in Game of Thrones style, and it was actually really, really good. They've started doing well. I actually fell out of touch with it as well as the most recent episodes, but they had started doing like entire seasonal story arcs, and they were doing them pretty good. Like they had the one season that explained the origins of Kenny, and like how come he always resurrects when he dies, and that season was pretty cool. And they did a whole Game of Thrones season, and the concept was Sony versus Xbox or Xbox versus PlayStation.
The D&D season was great.
Yeah, I remember that too. They did a D&D season. They for a while. Their original seasons when it first came out back in the 90s was great, and then it went into a lull. Like it got stupid. But
now
then
they're banned in China.
And they had a bit of a revival, yes, and for reasons. But they had a bit of a revival in some of their later seasons that I like. I have no idea how they're doing now. I don't know if they're good or I know. Like Ring said, because they've gotten very preachy, they got banned in China. But
no, they're banned in China because they were insulting the fearless leader, which is fine.
Well, that's what I mean by they're getting preachy. Basically, they always have to make social commentary.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they're not preachy on one specific side.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
They attack anyone. Whoever has made the mistake, or someone who did something really stupid, and they'll make a big episode of that. Matter of fact, Trey Parker and what was it, Matt Stone? They made their episodes that week. Like they don't record it weeks or months in advance like most of their shows. They literally do it on the spot, and that's why they're very relevant in pop culture.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. All I'm saying is that it's all about social commentary now with
Yeah.
with their, which it didn't used to be. I remember when you had satellite dishes coming out of Cartman's ass and aliens and stuff.
Well,
those were
that's the thing.
episodes.
You're not remembering right. It was always social commentary. Even
No, it
way back
wasn't.
when, yes, it was.
No, not necessarily. There was pop culture references, but it was I don't remember it being as
That's something you don't remember.
as
but I
saturated
actually-
with.
except
And
I
I've
watched
seen.
it recently, and I can tell you, it had
I'm gonna go
social
back
commentary.
and watch.
It had social commentary way back then. It always had it.
It has. But
Shut up.
yes, PS5 next year, November, holiday season. If I can get that out there.
Oh yeah,
Once-
this is a gaming channel. Isn't it?
yes.
You literally said talk about anything and everything, so we're talking about anything and everything right now.
He does have a point.
Well, I'm not saying it's not, but I was talking about the PlayStation about 5 minutes ago.
So what's going on with the PlayStation 5?
It's coming out next year. I'm gonna get it or try and pre-order. No pre-orders are available just yet, but when that happens, I will plan on getting it.
Hey guys, we're releasing new consoles that have the massive 300 terabyte storage, along with always live internet requirement, and has a graphical graphical equivalent to having 20 AMD Radeons on that bitch. And has the equivalent of like at least 15 Ryzen processors. And
Hey, if you don't want to get it, you don't have to get it, but I'm gonna get it.
And it jacks you off as you play.
The what?
no,
Nothing.
I'm talking about the usual hyping up before, just like with Fallout 76.
Yeah, well, because it's supposed to. They have been talking about the hardware about it a little bit, but they're saying it is going to have SSD and the whole graphics. Some of it I'm not buying into because they're saying supposedly it's going to be up to 8K, which the PS4 is not even up to 4K, or it kind of is, but not really. But
I will say I like the fact that they waited a long time before. Like I feel like the PS3 and the PS4, the jump from the PS3 and the PS4 was fairly quick, or it didn't last that long.
it's usually typically every 7 years, which
Yeah.
that's the life cycle of the PlayStation.
console.
Yeah.
PS2 was like 2001, 2002. Then PS3 was around 2008.
Yeah.
And then PlayStation 4 came out 2013, 14.
Somewhere around there.
So it's pretty average life cycle.
Okay.
The only one that's actually out of whack is Nintendo's console cycle. They're the only one that's odd one out, but I think they're proposing a new variant that has upgraded performance for the Switch,
Yeah.
but I might be wrong on that.
So.
The Virtual Switch,
Mm,
like the Virtual Boy Part 2.
that doesn't exist.
But-
Anyways,
The cool thing with the PS5 is it seems like it's pretty set in stone that, or it's most likely it's going to be backwards compatible with PS4 games. Whether or not it goes more backwards compatible, it's up in the air, but it will be. It's looking like it'll be backwards compatible with PS4 games. So
like the whole PS3 conundrum, where yeah, we can't play any PlayStation 2 games. You're screwed.
the original PS3s did though. I
Yeah,
have
the
one of
original,
PS3s.
So do I, and it's backward compatible with PS2 and PS1 games.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Blu-ray.
I remember when I was at a cousin's house, and I was used to Sega Genesis and Nintendo, Super Nintendo, NES, and I remember like them having a PlayStation, and they had a demo disc, so you know,
Yeah, I remember
and
those.
stuff like that. And that one specifically had one game that at the time caught my attention, and that was Armored Core 2.
Mhm.
It had the demo, so you can only do so much, you know, but it was still a proper demo. And I remember just being fascinated with it. It was just a fun game. But I always I will never forget that startup screen.
Mhm.
You know, when you first
Yeah.
booted the
It's
PlayStation.
super loud.
You know, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then the PlayStation 2 came out, right?
hmm
And that was, to me...
I remember the PlayStation 2 startup screen. It was
This-
very sci-fi.
Interrupted.
So what?
And the PlayStation 2 had
Not a
that
congressman.
Shut the fuck up.
Now who's triggered?
So
Ring likes to trigger people. He's told me. And
Yes.
now who's triggered?
This is not triggering. This is being rude.
No, I'm just saying stuff, but you're getting mad.
Yeah, because you keep interrupting.
Well, you still.
That's not trolling.
I'm not trying to troll you.
You're trying. You're going for the trigger, so you're trying
Focus,
to troll.
people, focus.
I'm not trying to troll. I just said something and he got mad.
You
so
be quiet. You keep talking.
Yeah,
So-
be quiet, Ring. So anyway, it's awesome.
I remember the boost screen for the PS2,
Yes.
which had that little, top down, which was zoom in all the things and
Sci-fi.
Yeah, and I thought that at the time, at least from my perspective, I thought it was pretty awesome. And then you had like Dance Dance Revolution and more importantly GTA 3,
Yeah.
which was I think it was PlayStation 2. That to me like the game hasn't aged well, but I remember like this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And they, for the most part, they got the controller right. The aerodynamics is still a little weird for that variant, but I remember the PlayStation 2 experience was just great. Then PlayStation 3 came out, and that was kind of weird in its interface and stuff like that. It felt very slow and clunky, at least to me.
Yeah.
And I was used to being on PC at the time by that point, and having done with the GameCube. And the GameCube had a very simple interface. It wasn't a smart machine you saw. I mean, PlayStation 2 had some, multimedia capability, and the PlayStation 3 definitely had like Netflix and early streaming services. And the GameCube, I don't know if you ever had a GameCube, but it was a very simple cubed interface. Top was game, bottom was memory, left and right did something else like memory settings and stuff like that. But it's all it needed.
Yeah.
The Wii came out, and that did advance Nintendo's UI quite a bit, and it kind of sort of copied over to the Wii U. PlayStation 4 came out, and that was a magnificent interface, right? Xbox doesn't rub me right.
Same. And to me, it seems so clunky.
It is. It's like, hey, we're trying to do the PC on our console, but we're going to do it in the most inefficient, haphazard way to give you the postulated experience, because it's just to say, hey, the next patch, things just run slightly better, so we succeeded.
I've never handled an Xbox, so I have no idea what the interface or anything looks
You
like.
don't want to. No.
I'm just commenting.
And on top of that, console exclusives are not really that important anymore.
Yes, they are. God
Fortnite.
of War.
Mm-hmm.
Or can you play that on your PC? Last of Us.
The Last
One,
of Us is the
2.
big one. Yeah.
Sony's been knocked out of the ballpark with their exclusives, which pretty much up until recently that Nintendo is now a top tier, but Sony was driving it home.
And I can't think of
Nothing but
any
home runs.
I can't think of any good PC exclusive lately. For a while, the Half-Life series was a badass.
Horizon Zero Dawn, The Last of
you
Us.
literally forgot a vast majority of the Steam library that is considered PC exclusive.
Yeah, but what are the main big names in that library that are exclusive to PC? Only ones I can really think of that are huge games are Minecraft, because that is, I don't know if it still is, but it was a PC
It's on
exclusive.
consoles now.
Okay, well, it was
Now.
for a long time a PC exclusive, and for a long time, which was, won so many Game of the Year, and I know I go back to this game all the time, but Half-Life, and the Half-Life series was at one point a PC exclusive. What is a PC exclusive now that is, a great game, that's considered like just an amazing top-tier game?
Empyrean, Gothic, Space Engineers, those are very games that...
Great games, but not big-name games. Like
that doesn't matter. You're looking for overall value or volume.
You're looking for overall value, and I get that, and I agree. But I'm talking about things that are going to sell because of the name.
There's plenty of games that do it on PC, because PC is such a big platform. There's no restriction that is, in a sense. Think of it this way. The console wars have divvied up the console market. So you go to a specific console to play certain things, right? Well, in the case of Xbox, Gears of War used to not be a PC game. Now it is.
Yeah.
So it's lost that exclusivity.
Technically, it's still like through Microsoft, so they're not losing money. They did that to expand to make more money to
it's
open
through
up
their
more avenues.
And you're
Windows.
correct. You're correct. Now, the issue though, when you break up the market though, is you get situations with the crossover play. With Sony, it is Sony, where they are blocking other consoles and platforms from cross-playing with their own platform. That causes more harm than good. So it forces you to like, well, do I want to play with certain people, or do I want to play with just specific, essentially PlayStation users?
Yeah.
They finally are starting to open to that, but they should open up to that way back when, because okay, I'm losing my track of mind here. Every console has their own little niche, right? Right?
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have to pick and choose on what that is. You should have a universal platform that reaches across all platforms: PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, which some games do that, like Fortnite and Minecraft. Those games can even play on your phone and work just fine without any other additional bullshit.
Yeah.
You know? And that would be most optimal, because then you can say, well, at that point, I want to choose what I feel like playing with. I prefer the Xbox interface and stuff like that, but it plays the same game. I'm playing with somebody on the Switch over here, and I'm playing with somebody on the Switch that's over there, or rather PlayStation. And I feel like we're gradually getting to that point, right?
Yeah.
The issue with exclusives specifically is it punishes the market, because I'm not preaching equal wealth and stuff like that. I just don't do that. But it kind of gives a shaft to Nintendo players or Xbox players, because they can't access God of War because Sony negotiated an exclusivity to that particular franchise. It does suck to some extent, because that means I have to go spend $500, $600 to play that one game.
Same. I agree, because one of the games that I would love to play and own is The Last of Us 2, and that's coming out, because I actually absolutely adored the original one. I don't know how my financial situation is going to be holiday season 2020, if I'm going to be able to afford a PS5. I have a pretty good souped up computer right now that can play a good majority of games. So, maybe instead of having to worry about maybe spending $60, $70, I have to worry about spending $500 plus the additional $60, $70 for the game itself. Which, exclusivity
also
sucks.
including taxes.
Yeah, it obviously drives sales for the console, but like Ring says, it does punish people, which sucks. Because honestly, literally, the only game that I am dying for for the PlayStation would be The Last of Us 2. There's other games that come and go. God of War. I don't even know what other. The Uncharted series, which I hear is great, and I need to get to Red Dead Redemption. Spider-Man.
Horizon Zero Dawn. There's quite a few of them.
Games that I enjoy to play, but I'm not like pining over it, like losing sleep over it. In other words,
I would say, just reiterate the point, is that exclusives used to work when the console wars were full of that, especially when Dreamcast was around, right? But we're moving to an age where it's not about, let's get them all on this one console. It doesn't work anymore. Now, what companies should be focusing on is maximizing that reach. Reach out to any players, sell as many copies as possible on multiple platforms. And it's much more doable than it was before, because interconnectivity between the systems is becoming more and more realized, and the platforms themselves have virtually identical hardware specs. So there's almost no reason to do that, except the exception of the Switch, which is only the little case. But there's no excuse for companies to stick with the console exclusive format.
It's slowly starting to branch out, but it's taken a while. But due to proprietary, whether it was software, hardware, whatnot, but now little by little, it's getting there.
I need to ask this question. This is the important question. Have they unveiled the price of the PS5?
Not yet. They're
$800.
Yeah, that's what.
Nah, it's not. But it's probably. I'm assuming it's probably around 500. But
Yeah, at least. Another problem with exclusivity, just touching real briefly on that again, is that consoles are getting more numerous. In the time of the Sega and SNES bit wars, you had basically two juggernauts in the ring. You had Sega and you had Nintendo, and Sega had, of course, the Sonic the Hedgehog and whatever exclusive games they had. Nintendo had their Super Mario franchise and whatever games they had, and then there were games that were coming out on both, Sunset Riders and other games and whatnot. But there was two to choose from. So you could get one. Maybe there's a few set of games that you didn't get. But nowadays, you've got the Nintendo Switch. You've got PC, which for all intents and purposes can be considered a console. You have Xbox. You have PlayStation. Not to mention the fact that we got the Google Stevia. What's it? Stadia, whatever. Stevia is the fucking packets of sugar, the sugar substitute. You got the Stadia. I've heard that Nvidia is coming out with something pretty soon. So it's kind of like you've got all of these different consoles, and I'm sure they're each pining or wanting to have their own exclusives to drive the sales of their own individual consoles up, which is, in the end, the ones that are going to lose is the consumer. You're going to have an oversaturation of games in the market, which can end up causing another video game market crash, which is something that our friend Mike thinks is very, very possible, and actually thinks should happen. He thinks should happen because there's an oversaturation of bad games and unfinished games, which we've talked about in the past. We won't get into that right now, but
it's the big three plus PC. But then I know what you're talking about with regards to Mike, but that's more to do with the publishers and their greed. That's more has to do with that. But exclusivity, it's always going to be there. It's again to drive out their sales. Not to boast, but I have all the big three as well as the PC. So, but to your point, yes, there was an issue because there was a game I had on the PS4 that you had on the PC, but we were unable to play together. But then, which I would probably have to get it again on the PC, so that way we can play together. But even though we already own the same games, but on the PS4 and even the PC, there was just no way we can be done. Yeah. But it's just there. It's always going to be there. PlayStation comes out next year. I'm going to get it.
I'll try to get it.
We'll see what happens, but by all means, you guys are always welcome to come over and check it out. I'm assuming, obviously, The Last of Us is going to come out on that as well as PS4, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm pro Sony, and that's my choice. Between the big three, that's the one I've always stuck with, and I'm going to continue to go that route.
I'd just be happy if I can have the money to buy the games that I want for PC. Yes. I can do that. I want to get myself Outer Worlds. I want to get myself Cyberpunk 2077, the new Doom Eternal, which I still need to finish. I still fully intend to finish my Doom 2016 playthrough. It's just been on the back burner.
Yeah, we'll get there. But yes, by the time this comes out, Outer Worlds would have already been released.
It's being released pretty soon, I think.
This Friday.
Yeah. So by the time this airs, this Outer Worlds will already have been released.
That's what I just said.
No, you didn't.
He did.
He didn't say it in those words, okay? It doesn't matter. He
does this to me all the time.
What did I do?
You guys can't see it, but I'm shaking my head right now.
I am too. He does this all the time.
What did I do? You did not say what I said. I put the words. I have the words that I put, and you didn't say those words. I said different words. You said something different.
I'll say something, and he'll turn it around to kind of put his own little spin on the same exact thing I just said, just his own way. It's like I just said that.
Okay, so, it is not my fault that you do not have the proclivity of an orator. Okay,
This the bullshittery spewing out. Anyways, moving on. Does anyone else have anything else to talk about? Since this is the last shoot the shit of October, Scaretober, oddities and entrails. Anything good in that route?
All I want to say is stay tuned, because on October 31st, barring anything going wrong, we will have something special and different as our finale for Oddities and Entrails. We want to thank everybody who has tuned in thus far. We have been shooting for about 150 subscribers for the end of the month. Doesn't look like we're going to meet that goal, but for those that have subscribed and those who have urged others to subscribe, thank you so much. We do hope you continue to tune in. Help us out. We really do want to grow this channel. We've got big plans, more reviews, top 10 lists, video game discussions, video game overviews, all kinds of stuff that we want to continue to do. Obviously, our weekly podcast. So, help us grow. You can say that you'll be there. Once we hit it big, you can say that you were one of the ones that was there at the start. So, by all means, leave comments, share it with your friends, anybody that you think might get a kick out of our antics. Let them know. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. But I think for me, I that's all I've got. I just want to wish everybody a happy Halloween, and thanks so much for.
Oh, you dressing up for Halloween?
Am I dressing up for Halloween? Yes, I will be going as a weird person.
That's not dressing up for Halloween.
That's just being a creep.
That's something that you don't already do. So, are you dressing up?
See, you're trying to make that into a joke, but I was already making the joke. So who's taking what somebody else said? No, I'm not dressing up for Halloween. I don't have any costume, nor do I have any costume ideas.
We'll see.
What do you mean, we'll see? I'm telling you that I'm not going to dress up.
Ring, or do you plan on dressing up?
I'm going to, yes, actually. We had a bit of a run with my gas mask and Ushanka hat with the Soviet symbol on it before the chat here, and I'll have us upload a photo of it.
Is that what it's called, a Ushanka hat?
Mm.
Cool, I didn't know what the heck it was called.
And I'll be probably be wearing that, and also wearing a tarp from a World War II Soviet uniform.
Mm.
So I'll probably be wearing that ensemble to give the reflection of like someone from like Chernobyl or something like that. Something like that.
It's very cool. Yeah. And yes, I will. You'll see a picture come through with it. And how about you, Mr. Halloween?
Yes, I will be dressing up as something. I'm not quite sure what. Usually that's a surprise, but yes, I do plan on dressing up for Halloween.
I still want to know what he meant by "we'll see" when I said I'm not dressing up.
To be determined.
I'm not dressing up. What do you mean we'll see? How can you? It's like saying, I'm going home. We'll see. What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
You take it how you want, but we'll see.
What we'll see? What? There's not we'll see. Nobody's gonna see anything. What will we see? We will see me go to work on Halloween, as I will be working on Halloween, dressed in my normal, usual garb. I will be adorned. I will be festooned with my normal clothing.
And the bullshittery returns.
Bullshittery? What is...
Anyways, new subject. So this past Monday, they released the trailer for episode 9, the final trailer it was portrayed. And I actually am a bit looking forward to this movie. First off, I heard the news earlier this week that apparently Dennis Lawson, who played Wedge Antilles in the original trilogy, is indeed in the film, along with, of course, Billy Dee Williams and the Light and stuff like that.
Billy Dee Williams.
Yeah. There's several things of the trailer which I enjoyed. First off, there is a bit of a snap of the Falcon dropping down into formation with hundreds of ships behind it. And there was a couple of things which I spotted right away, which we with glee. Okay?
We?
Yeah. In one image, it had a Nebulon B frigate. It's a classic, right? You'll see U-Wings, as well as various ships that appeared throughout the years. You see an Alderaanian war frigate. You also see some newer ships that, especially ones that appeared in The Last Jedi, which there are obviously more than one, right? And a big one for me was the ghost. It appeared on the right side of the image, which I'll have point out to S so you can show. And to me, is amazing. Because the last time we saw a ghost in a movie, and also for the first time, was Road One. And theory is it's not Hera Syndulla piloted ship, but it's her son Jason Syndulla. If you've ever seen Star Wars Rebels, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll see a classic Y-wing in the trailer, an X-wing, and apparently an upgraded B-wing variant, which we have not seen since Return of the Jedi. We sort of saw it in Force Awakens. The transport that Leia came in right on, the cockpit was actually a modified B-wing cockpit. So we technically had a slight appearance. Also, the scene with the Star Destroyers rising out of the ice was amazing. Apparently, people are confusing that this is not a battle in space. It's actually on some sort of ice world or planet that contains all these ships.
Another Hoth.
Not quite, but you'll see at a certain point in the trailer there's people charging on horse-like creatures on the hull of a Star Destroyer. Charging across to some destination. More than likely, that Star Destroyer was in the process of being assaulted or something. We'll find out. And we're also see in the trailer that it appears to be that Palpatine makes a appearance at the end of the trailer, which he appears to be hooked up to some sort of bio unit. You can you see the mechanical unit in question, but you just see his hood. But it's Palpatine. Ian McDiarmid is in the film, so that's all you need to know. But this is the finale. We had an okay showing with The Force Awakens. It was going somewhere. Then the absolute complete shit show that was The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
But I believe Abrams worked his magic on this one. Now I'm
the redeeming piece.
Yeah, I'm trying to resist getting my hype up because I was severely let down by Last Jedi. I was. It was heartbreaking. Essentially Rian Johnson, who was trying to subvert expectations. With what he did during the film, is just let's destroy the characters of Luke Skywalker. We'll also fuck with the idea while hyperspace drives can now be used as bombs, essentially. Or, though that scene was cool, right?
Yeah.
Or having Hodo, a complete bitch who was only existence there was to act as a foliant for Poe Dameron. That was I think you've seen the film, and that was if you watch it, and it's why is she here? Is she only purpose in the film is just to piss off Poe Dameron? There was no logic. What?
I raised my hand because I just wanted to point out for the people who cannot see that Ring is so impassioned by this that he actually stood up before us like a professor in a lecture hall, talking about this. He actually felt the need to stand up, and I'm just saying he has a great reverence for this, a passion, and I applaud it. So I felt the need to not interrupt because he had the guise and poise of a lecturing professor that I felt the need to raise my hand. Proceed, sir.
Star Wars has been a part of my life since I was age 5. When I first saw it on USA, right?
Yeah.
And they had the movies, being broadcasted on Channel 31 here in San Antonio. And it was... Yes. And I grew up with Star Wars, and then when the prequel trilogy came out, I was enamored. I saw this. We all saw the prequel trailer, and some of it was lame, but it was the fact that yes, we're getting more Star Wars. Attack of the Clone was okay. Phantom Menace was boring, but the pod racing scene made up for it in a way. Revenge of the Sith was good. like through and through. It was good. It wrapped it up nice, tight bit to transition into the original trilogy. We got the Clone Wars television series, the first one in 2003 for under Jenny Tartakovsky, and then we got the one under Dave Filoni, the 3D animation series, which I love. And then there was this long void until Lucasfilm was sold to Disney, and then first thing that came out was Rebels. Or was it Road? No. Force Awakens, then Rebels, then Road One, right? Road One was a fucking masterpiece. I was like, yes, this is
Star Wars.
Fundamentally Star Wars at its base. But it grew because it showed the bad guys and good guys are not so perfect as you thought in the original trailer. You had extremist elements in the Rebels, but some parts were just literally terrorists and murderers, Yeah. Saul would literally murder innocent people to strike a blow whenever possible. He did not care, and he was a representative of that extremist part of the Alliance. And then came Last Jedi. I said, whatever. But now we have Clone Wars finishing up their series finally after so long.
That show's still going on?
It got they revived it for the 7th and final season that was intended to there, but never did. So Dave Filoni, bless him, he does a great job with Rebels. I'm sure he'll do a great job with Clone Wars.
Yes.
And now we have The Last Jedi to wrap it up, the final ending. And then supposedly they'll do more Star Wars films on some other time frame or something like that. And that'll come up when it come up.
Yeah, it's going to be the Disney cash cow for a while. This story may be locked away once this is done, but they're going to still run with storylines, story arcs, prequels, origin stories.
I haven't seen Resistance yet, but from what I saw, it was like has a feel like an early version of Clone Wars, where it appeals for the younger age, but may mature as the show finishes off. I'm not sure yet. I know the comics are going strong. I think Marvel now does the comics for Star Wars, and I've heard and I've seen some of it is actually pretty decent work. With the end coming in, 2 months?
Yeah, December, Christmas time usually.
I'm hoping that it sends off the Luke Skywalker saga with a proper, complete ending.
That it'll be the swan song that you hope it'll be, and wrap things. Even if it's not a happy ending, a justifiably good ending.
I want this ending to wrap up what started for me in 1990 when I first saw those shows or the movies on USA, and then finally just bring it out to a loud and resounding complete end. That's all I hope for.
The Ewoks are gonna come out and kick ass everywhere.
That would be great. The fucking return of the Ewoks.
But you understand?
Yeah, I got you.
It's something I felt passion for. I continue to feel passion for, and I hope it ends right.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be good.
Impassioned words from a passionate man. Now to you, Ops.
My coffee, don't ever fucking doubt me on my love for Star Wars, alright? I know you did say something about it.
What did I say? What did I say?
Did I say him? No, I said Mike Coffee.
Oh, I didn't hear Mike. I didn't hear Mike Coffee. So
look at this. He makes these about himself. It's not even about him. I even said the name. I said the name.
And I'm admitting that I was wrong. That I didn't hear Mike Coffee. So I retract my statement and admit that I was wrong.
I'll top it. Is that Mass Effect? I'm really curious.
No.
Okay, because it's a symbol of the Alliance symbol on its side a little bit. I don't know. That's kind of weird.
What are you talking about?
The lamp.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The Systems Alliance symbol. He has Ops has, for people who can't see it, Ops has a lamp here that I never noticed has a very striking similarity to the Systems Alliance symbol.
You have to.
Oh, you have to put a globe in the middle of that, and it'll be the Systems Alliance symbol.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
A globe to represent the Earth.
Yeah.
I think I have a stress ball that's a globe. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll put it there for you guys.
I got a picture so we can put it on the channel or on the video.
Yes.
Anything else?
I think that's about it.
I think I did my impassioned speech for this episode.
Yeah, that was very good.
Yes. Think we're about ready to wrap this up.
Who wants to play us out?
All right, I'll do it. Well, this has been another wonderful end of October Shoot the Shit Saturday. This is Green Leader, and here I have Espionage DB7.
The one, the only Espionage DB7.
And Obsolete 2003.
Yo.
And we wish you all an amazing and scary and spooky Halloween. And you have a wonderful day, and I think that'll do it.
Yes, and I'm the one, the only rocket blaster,
No.
flag, take explosion, make it flamethrower,
No.
score,
Settle down.